Hey guys, welcome to Atita Fitness. So today I have a special guest. He's called Mr. Price. He's going to introduce himself. Such a great guy. You guys have had me call him on my YouTube live from time to time. So today we are going to have a raw conversation. Is it raw? Raw conversation. Okay. Whatever way you are going to interpret it. So we are going to have a discussion with Price, get to express ourselves so that you guys will get to know who Price is, how we became friends, and talk more about our life experiences, traveling experiences, and a lot, especially him growing here in America, how life was for him after traveling and all that. So we are going to catch up on everything. And if you're new here watching this video for the first time, please go ahead and subscribe, hit those thumbs up, like button.
What's up?
Introduce yourself.
Well, you guys have seen me before. I'm Bryce. Tita and I have been friends for going on 3 years now.
Yeah.
He was in America for a couple months, and he was at the gym that I worked out at, and I saw him, and I'm like, hey man, I need you to do this crazy adventure with me. And he was game, and so we became friends after that. Been through some journeys, some fitness challenges, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. But basically I'm just kind of a guy that has many interests. A lot of them are around fitness, arm wrestling, distance running, powerlifting, rock climbing, all that stuff. Atita's come to all of it. We're gonna get him arm wrestling soon.
Do you think arm wrestling sometimes it's dangerous? Why do you think it's not like a big sport outside there? Because I feel like in America, arm wrestling is a big sport, but not outside the US. Like, why do you think?
So I think it's a couple of different things, right? So there are the Eastern Bloc European countries, like Georgia, for instance, but like even Russia, up in that kind of side of Europe.
Yeah.
It's a lot bigger of a sport. People actually care about it, recognize it, train for it more and stuff like that.
Okay.
But I think, so in America, it's like recently become more popular. There was like a mainstream movie about it called Over the Top. So anytime Sylvester Stallone was in it, he was a truck driver.
Yeah.
He's a truck driver, so he's used to like shifting and all that kind of stuff. That's what got his arm strong. Mm-hmm. And in that movie, it talks about a special technique where you grip this thumb and it's basically a top roll is what we call in arm wrestling. So you are basically forcing your hand over the top of somebody else's hand, and that's how you pin them, right?
Have you ever been in a situation where someone ended up breaking their hand by just doing the arm wrestling?
I have watched an arm break happen. Yeah, it does happen.
Ooh, that would scare me.
For the most part,
yeah,
it's like anything else. Like if you lift weight that's too heavy, too fast in the gym, you can get injured, right?
Okay.
So arm wrestling's similar to that. You need to have good training partners and start at your level. Mm-hmm. And so there's technique associated with it. If you get your hand outside of your body, right? So inside of your shoulder, this is a safe place.
Okay.
Very unlikely to break your arm or tear your bicep or any of the injuries that are common with arm wrestling, because your hand is close to you and inside of your shoulder.
Yeah.
Once your hand goes outside of your shoulder, there's a rotational force on your humerus.
Okay.
And it only takes a few pounds of pressure of actual rotation, and that you can spiral fracture your humerus. Ooh. Yeah. It kind of like splinters, and it's really bad arm break that you don't want to happen to you.
Wow.
Another one is once your arm gets stretched out, right? So your bicep is vulnerable out here.
Yeah.
Your bicep
because
is a lot.
It's about stretching out.
Exactly, because it's the tendon here, right? When you're like this, if you tear your bicep like this, it's probably going to be a muscular tear, and muscular tears, they suck, but they're not that big of a deal. You usually don't have to have surgery for them. They're not going to end your career or anything like that.
You can still get back.
And people are afraid of that just because they're not realizing that it's a skill issue first.
Okay.
There's plenty of strong people that think arm wrestling happens here. Yeah. There's not rotation. I mean, there is rotation that happens, but this isn't arm wrestling. Pulling, they call it pulling for a reason. Backed into your body, and you allow your body to fall sideways with your arm close to you.
Okay.
That's the most ideal kind of way to arm wrestle, and that keeps you, from getting injured. Now, you see these guys out there, Michael Todd is one of them.
Yeah.
There's a few like people that they do this move where they're outstretched and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they've been arm wrestling a long time, and they're used to that, and they can take that, and that's just the forces that their arm is used to. So like anything else,
Yeah.
you do it enough times, and you build resilience. So, you know.
So do you think like Americans want to make sport on everything? Because that's one thing I've seen here. Like you guys want to make everything a sport. Everything.
Funny thing is, it's I think it's probably larger. It's probably people in general, but at least my experience of being, you know, an American or whatever is we all like to be on a team.
Okay.
We always try to find something
Activities to do together.
Yeah, well, even being a fan of an activity.
Mm-hmm.
Like gives you camaraderie with other people, right? You can have allies or enemies or whatever. It's just like gives your life some, I guess, more meaning, right? Because if you're just
the competing nature, like you guys are very competitive.
Well, if you're just getting up and going to work every day or whatever, you know, you
want to find something to
exactly
your mind.
It's like larger purpose in a way, right?
Yeah. So,
but that comes like I think that's a human instinct, though. Right?
Okay.
If you're not focused on everyday immediate survival. Mm-hmm. Because we all usually have water and food and heating and a job and your car and all that stuff. Just kind of your security needs are met. I mean, unless you're out making YouTube videos or whatever, right? It's hard to find something to aspire to.
YouTube video. So talking about sports, which sport do you think, like with your own experience or like the sports that you have watched before, which sport do you find boring? Like it's very boring. You're like, why do we even like?
Man, this is gonna give me hate amongst the world.
No,
it's soccer. It's gotta be soccer.
No way.
It's gotta be soccer.
I'm done with you. I'm done with.
The American football has ruined it for all of us, right? Because it's high collision, high kinetic energy. There's consequences for playing the game or whatever, and it's kind of like battle, right?
Okay.
When what we don't understand, mostly I would assume, is soccer's strategic.
Okay.
It's not about this one moment. Yes, a goal and setting up a play and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of moving the ball around in order to move people around in order to set up a play, right?
Yeah.
We don't get that in football. We're like, man, catch ball, man, don't catch ball. You know what I mean?
Let me tell you, I think soccer is one of the best sport that I like the most. I grew up like watching soccer, and it comes with a lot of I would tell you, when we are celebrating soccer, not just in Kenya. In Kenya, you will find like people are watching more European leagues than even like the Kenyan football. I mean, the Kenyan soccer. We call it football back at home.
Yeah.
People watch that more. We celebrate. Like when it's World Cup time, men are not in the house. Like we go outside there to gather together and watch football. People are drinking beer and all that. So saying it's a boring game, guys are going to get back on you on this video.
I knew it was gonna. Hey, look, the second one is American baseball. I really find that one a little tough.
I think American baseball. I don't know. Yeah.
The quick burst athleticism that baseball or softball, most of the time is like you don't do much, but then the ball is coming towards you and you need to act very quickly. You need to make the right choice. And you have to have like camaraderie with your teammates because they need to know that, hey, that ball, as soon as it hits his hand, it's coming to me and I need to get it to this guy, right?
Yeah.
But there's something at stake immediately, right? This runner is trying to run to the base. And if your team executes, then that guy doesn't get to the base, and then ultimately doesn't score the point for the team, right?
Okay.
It's just, I think it's a attention span issue, right, with soccer.
Is.
America or football in general, right? It's like, I gotta watch 80 minutes for one goal.
I know.
Are you kidding me?
It does take a lot of time for sure, but it's such a good game. I think like if soccer was such a thing here in America, I would pay so much to go watch the soccer game.
Yeah.
Same thing. I don't get football. The American football, I think the most thing which ended up like throwing me off by just watching the games on TV. I would want to go to the beach to watch the game, but I feel like I will never understand it because those guys are wearing helmets. I've never watched them before, so I don't know the history of like who they are.
Gotcha.
And when I see you guys going so big, like when it comes to watching football and all that, I don't get it. Like it's so hard. I'm trying to put so much attention. I think like being intentional and watching more like football leagues and all that to understand. And one of my favorite team like is like the Super Bowl. I would say I've been like a Kansas City guy because I knew like they've been winning before. Same thing. Like I'm a Manchester United guy from like back at home. So now I don't know. Like you guys go off about watching football.
So I will say, so that, yeah, if you didn't understand the history of the last few years,
Yeah.
you wouldn't necessarily have got the significance of like the Kansas City Chiefs. People are going to hate me for saying this, and look, I'm a LA Chargers fan, so I hate the Chiefs just as much as the next guy. But they have Patrick Mahomes he's an incredible quarterback in a lot of ways. This year, there's been some issues with officiants and them playing favorites or something like that.
Yeah.
But Patrick Mahomes can throw a football from anywhere. He could be knocked down and he could still throw a football like on target. He's got an incredible athletic ability to just throw a football, basically.
Yeah.
And then part of being a quarterback is you're the leader. So of your guys on the field, like for offense,
Yeah.
the quarterback can make choices that trumps the coach or the play calling or anything.
Yeah.
They're like the last guy right before everything goes live, right before, the enemy, the opposing team is coming at you.
Yeah.
That guy can make a choice to send a guy in a different spot. He can change the play.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of things riding on his decision-making capability, right?
Okay.
So not only do you want a freak athlete that can get the ball where it needs to go,
Yeah.
or be able to run away if they have to,
Yeah.
you want a guy that when the pressure is on, when it is like all the chips are down,
Okay.
it's the Super Bowl, you need a guy that can make the right choice, basically.
Okay.
That did not happen for him this year, though.
For me, I think like when they're playing football, those guys are like, it's more like they're fighting each other. Like
Yeah, it's simulated
put
combat.
people down as many as you want to kind of pass by, and they go to the next score point.
Yeah.
That's how it kind of. So give me a picture of like you growing up as an American kid. I think that's something that I've always wanted to
Okay,
understand.
man.
There's someone who
this
is watching you outside there. Like, give me a picture of like growing as an American kid.
okay.
So for the people that don't understand, the USA is an extremely large country, right? Like,
it's a big country.
like-
50 states or 54?
so we have 50 official states, and then we
Okay.
got a few different territories and stuff.
Yeah.
But basically,
What do you call territories?
a territory. So they're technically U.S. Soil, but they didn't make it into statehood, basically.
Okay.
Right. So
Like,
when you're in them,
Hawaii?
no, Hawaii is a full-on American state. They joined in like 1949 or something
Okay.
like that.
Okay.
Puerto Rico is
Puerto Rico.
is a U.S. territory. There's the U.S. Virgin Islands, America Samoa.
I think Guam is even.
So when
in the
you say
US.
about the territory, does that mean like America takes care of it, or like?
that means it is under the law of the federal government of the United States. Basically.
Okay.
Yeah. It could have its own regional, local laws and stuff, just like
Yeah.
any other state.
Yeah.
I think what it has to do with is the taxes that they may have to pay.
Yeah.
And I don't think they get representation in Congress.
Okay. Do they have like a different president, or do they still have like
No,
a governor?
it's they have the
Yeah.
U.S. president
Oh,
is their president.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So give us the picture about you growing up as an American kid.
Okay, so I lived in Oregon. I still live in Oregon. So we're in the west coast of the United States,
Yeah.
which is pretty mountainous, right? So we have the coastal area that has the weather of the coast, which is basically in a picture. It's 60 degrees and
Yeah.
raining half the time or
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
And then there's a large mountain range, and then there's this valley,
Okay.
and then another large mountain range.
Yeah.
I grew up in that valley, which is where we are currently, the Rogue Valley.
Yeah.
So it's different for other people, right? I had a lot of access to like the outdoors and mountains, going to the coast. You know, it's only a 3-hour drive from here.
You guys
know.
have everything here for sure.
Yeah. So somebody in the middle of the United States would have a bit of a different experience just with their access to outdoor activities and stuff like that, right? So I grew up basically climbing mountains, going to lakes, paddling rafts, like a 4-man raft by myself, right? So but I don't have any brothers, and so it's just me and my dad kind of doing wild adventures as a kid.
Okay.
Lots of fishing, stuff like that. So just a lot of outdoor stuff around here. And I grew up in a split home, which basically just means my parents got divorced when I was young. So
I see. Okay.
Going back,
Like with your growing as a kid and all that, because like for me, I would say like there's a point where like my mom and my dad
stand out, like you know, amongst your peers or whatever. There's challenges, right? Like, so the way my parents split it was 50-50. So basically like Sunday through Wednesday I was at one parent's house, and then Wednesday through Sunday I was at the other parent's house, you know. So there's challenges associated with that, especially being a kid, and it's one of your parents' time on the weekend, right? But for a kid, you don't have school on the weekend, so you're like, oh, I want to go hang out with my friends, culturally or go do something, speaking, you know, extra or whatever, right? Super common, and it just get divorced. Maybe that you're with the parent, so it's not. Hey, you don't necessarily spend time. I get to see you, and I, you know, appreciate if you parents, especially when you spent more time at home with us or whatever, you know. So that wasn't a major issue as a younger kid, but as I got older,
I would say as a kid, no, I never really picked sides between my parents. They did a decent job of
kind of co-parenting.
Yeah, they didn't really
say bad things about each other and stuff like that. You know, even though one of them maybe had every reason to or whatever, you know what I mean? So no, for me it wasn't too hostile between my parents, which I'm very thankful for. You know, but just it's different when you're raised by a dad. You know, dads are stern and moms are kind of loving and, you know, lenient, you know what I mean? So it's kind of like just kind one house. Well, just the houses were opposite, you know what I mean? One house was lenient and free, and the other house was kind of strict. And
we didn't have that. So if like that happened, we don't have like a 50-50 thing. If it's a woman, you just go to back to your parents, and the man is with everything, even if like the woman has been helping to kind of get all those things that you guys have achieved. So when it comes to separation, like the woman doesn't get anything. I think it's kind of an unfair culture. That's something that people are being more like aware about, and we have like a lot of agencies and kind of empowering women and making them understand their rights. So we didn't have that, so that's why it was kind of like a scary moment for.
But you lived with mothers. Your mom or your dad?
I ended up living with my grandma. Okay. I'm so sad with the news that I received from home about my grandma. She raised me for 10 years, so there's a time where I didn't see my dad for like over 10 years. And even like going to meet my dad for the first time, I was kind of scared, like do I know this man? How am I going to see him? Because, you know, he was working in a city and he went outside, so I didn't meet him for like a long time. And as a young man, I feel like it kind of brings so much fear. Like I'm growing in a deep culture where people are so aggressive, like even just taking your cows, like we had cows, taking cows to the field. I'm going to get involved with the guys who want to beat me, like, they want to test my strength outside there. And we fight each other. If I can fight them, they have like their brothers, they will come and like fight me, both of them fighting. So it was a scary moment where you know that I don't have like anyone who is going to stand by me to kind of like help me when I'm getting into that kind of situation. So I kind of survived, like, you know, I have to do this. I would tell you, I would be 100%. I was very aggressive. Like growing up, I was very aggressive. Even going to school, I was a quiet kid, but very aggressive. There are moments like I was involved with like boxing and all that. I've knocked someone out where like they ended up fainting, like complete, like a big guy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I was scared from that moment. I was like, I just want to be a good person.
Well, you've been doing a great job since I've known you. I wouldn't have been able to tell. Yeah, but I think that's like, look, you got put into a situation where, basically the bigger guy wins or whatever, and in order to combat that, you got to adapt.
Bro, like, I feel like you guys here, okay, according to my, like, the analysis that I've seen for most of the kids that I've seen growing here, like, parents take you to school, they come and pick you from school, they take you to activities like sports, go interact with other kids and all that. Like, you guys are always busy, either like do this, do this, do this.
Sure, yeah.
But for us, it wasn't like that. You just go to school, come back home, go to the farm. You have to go to farm to work. Like,
yeah.
Sometimes I would stay. If I was given an option of staying in school, I would rather stay in school than just come home, because I'm going to go to the coffee plantation, tea plantation, and pick like a lot of tea leaves, or just go to the maize corn field to make sure like I'm harvesting a lot of maize and all that. Or
do you get paid for that?
No,
or?
Like.
Who? Okay, but who?
It's my
is it
family.
for your family?
Yes,
Okay.
People have like people have lands where they do all that, like planting and all that. So like me, when you turn like 21 as a young man back at home, your dad is supposed to give you land. So for what he owns, according to the men that he has like the sons that he has, he's going to give them like an equal piece of that land. Even himself is going to stay with an equal piece with, let's say if you have 5 boys, you are going to give them like 5 pieces of land. So for me, I was just by myself. So all the land that we owned, my dad gave me half of that. So it's like that. So I think that's why people do, like, nowadays they plan, if you have a big piece of land, you want to have as many kids as you want. That's how they grew up. Like, that's a culture. If you have a small piece of land, you're supposed to have like either one kid or no kid. And if you have more kids and you don't have enough, that's where like now the chiefs, the village elders come in to kind of tell you, hey, you're having a lot of kids and you don't have enough to give these boys, and these boys are going to become like a problem in the community because they don't have enough where they're going to eat from. So that's when like all that comes in.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yes.
So that's a concept that doesn't happen very much here. Like, unless you're part of a community like a church or something like that, there's not really other
people around you kind of advising like, hey, you're kind of having too many children, or the actions that you're doing have created a problem or something.
They will come at you. Yeah.
Do you think that's a good thing, or do you think
like before, I would tell you, like during the time of my grandma, if you had like more kids, that means you are rich. Because kids were they represented how rich you are. But it came to the point where people ended up like having a lot of kids and all that. I think that's where US aid came in to bring like prevention, like pregnancy, contraceptives. Yeah. Like to tell women, hey, if you have 2 kids, that's enough. Take this, you guys will still like have your fun and all that, but no kids.
Wow, interesting. So wait, was that not an idea like that pregnancy should be prevented? Do you think? I think no, people were having a lot of kids, and even if they were not preparing to have kids, they ended up like having a kid. So they never knew ways of like preventing themselves, or like most of the people go to the farm, and when they come home, either they're tired or like just staying home with their wives all the time and kids. We are like a family people, like family oriented people are so together. And there's a thing of like, like me right now at my age, like 30,
I think most of the people would say like I don't have plans. Like,
You're too
maybe
old.
I've been like Americanized because they kind of think like most people here don't even care about marriage and all that. So people will say like I've been Americanized. And sometimes I avoid conversations with my parents because I know that's what they are going to ask.
Wow,
me about.
that's so interesting. So
Do you know?
Well, hold on one second.
Okay.
Before you got to America,
Yeah.
did you understand things about American culture?
No.
Or you just went in blind?
I was blind. I think like after a few months of like trying to come here, that's when like, you know, I got curious, like, you know, when I get there, how am I going to build relationships, friendships and all that? So that's when I started looking at the American culture. And I had this picture on my mind, like maybe the whole of America looks like New York. So again, coming here was a surprise for me. Like, oh, okay.
See, that's why I started with explaining my childhood as America's a big place, right?
Yeah.
America looks so different.
It's very different.
Depending on where you are.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
I've gone
crazy.
to some places towards the coast where like the whole village, I don't know if you guys call them a village, there are only 200 people living there. I'm like,
so we just,
wow.
at that point, it's just a town.
Yeah.
Yeah, anything that's tiny, like it could be 10 houses, that's a town.
Okay.
Yeah. So we don't call, so town is like from those small little, basically 10 houses, like all the way to, I don't know, like 50,000 people, right?
Yeah.
We still call that a town. And then if it gets bigger than that, we'll eventually call it a city, right?
Yeah.
But that's, we don't.
So you as someone who grew up here in Oregon, do you think like if you go to New York or go to Chicago, do you feel like people will see you different? Do you think people are going to realize that you have an accent and all that? Because the same thing, if I'm in Kenya and someone from Nigeria is coming to Kenya, as much as like we have the same skin tone and all that, I will still know like this is a Nigerian guy.
Oh, yeah.
Or like it's from somewhere. There's some things that will tell you like, okay, here we don't cross paths. We need to keep like boundaries about this and this. Do you feel like Americans have that kind of
Definitely to some degree, right?
So the whole thing is we all get like, because we're so big, like I've never been to New York, I've never been to Chicago.
Yeah.
Right. So and most of the people in New York or Chicago have never been to Oregon, right?
Yeah.
So but basically what it is you get a generalization of what you think that place is.
Yeah.
It's not the whole picture. It's probably like the worst thing or the best thing about a place.
Yeah.
And that's like what you did with New York, right?
Yes.
So because I'm from Oregon, our biggest city is Portland, right?
Yeah.
And Portland in the Pacific Northwest in general has been, you know, famous politically for being a certain ideology, right? So if somebody...
We're going to talk about the ideology of like...
So if somebody hears I'm from Oregon, they think Portland. So they think I'm somebody who's like from Portland, right?
Okay.
And I'm like, oh, well, we're quite a bit different, right? So I was actually just traveling recently, and I was telling people, oh, I was from Oregon, and they're like, oh, I kind of know Oregon. Yeah. So they think of the Oregon Ducks because it's our, college football team.
I knew about the Oregon Ducks when I was still back at home.
and Portland, right? Yeah. And so I kind of have to do a slight amount of explaining and be like, well, we're actually kind of far from, like, because our valley is like... let's see, 200-300 miles ish away from Portland.
Yeah.
Well,
I think around
from the just that.
Yeah.
Let's just call it, Northern Oregon. So from Eugene to Portland or whatever is kind of grouped together, and then south of Eugene, even all the way to Northern California.
Yeah.
Like it's very spread out compared to like you're in Eugene, then Salem, then Portland or whatever, and it's all these areas that are like they're touching each other basically.
Yeah.
Well, you go south of Eugene. There's like not another town for a long time. And then you get even further south. Yeah. There's miles. There's like 50, 60, 70 miles on the interstate where there's like really no large population.
Yes.
And then you finally get to the Rogue Valley.
Yeah.
And we got a couple of towns or whatever, cities.
Yeah.
But our whole area is like 100,000 people, you know, like even if you put Grants Pass and Ashland together,
200,000 maybe.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's just basically it's so different because of the space. Our culture isn't blended the same way as it is in the Pacific Northwest.
Even Portland and Seattle are close enough urban regions where kind of the same thinking spreads up and down. Okay. And then Southern California is like that, right? Like from San Francisco all the way to San Diego, just a lot of population or whatever. So people think a lot more similarly, right? Yeah. Anyway, so if I was in Chicago, I would have my idea that, hey, this is a dangerous place or whatever, and I don't want to be, hurt by criminals or whatever. I'd be defensive and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. And then likewise with them, I obviously sound different compared to somebody who's like from that area. Yeah. I don't know if they'd be able to, like certain regions, like a New York accent is a New York accent. You can hear that anywhere and be like, that's New York, right? Yeah.
Is New York on the south side of the U.S.?
New York's actually in the northeast.
Northeast.
Yeah, northeast. So it's kind of. Do you know what the region called New England is? Yes. So it's in the New England region basically. Okay. So it was one of the first states.
Look at the American map.
Yeah. It gets cold as shit in the winter there too. It snows a lot and stuff like that. Okay. It's a brutal place to survive in the winter for sure.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it gets very cold. Yeah, and it's right by, like, you have the Atlantic Ocean and then the Great Lakes kind of by it. Well, you got New Jersey you have to kind of get through and stuff like that. But it's just a lot of cold air moves through that area right, in the winter.
So, why do you think, why is Portland so famous?
You want the real answer?
One thing that I know is the United States has different laws of the land, and they have regulations on how each state is conducting their business and all that.
Oh yeah.
But why do you think like Oregon is different, and now Oregon having Portland as a big city here, why is it so famous?
Well, see, if
Portland and Salem and Eugene were part of Washington, and the rest was Oregon, Oregon would be a red Republican state. Because Oregon is unique. Because I was telling you the coast, is basically a certain kind of demographic of people live there. Then you have this coastal mountain range, and then you have the valleys, right? So this is one valley. There's a couple of valleys up I-5. Basically, I-5 runs through all these valleys. Okay. Right? And then the second mountain range is our Cascade Range. Yeah. So what this does is it creates this part where rain dumps in the middle, so the valleys, but then no more moisture makes it past our Cascade Range. So the desert, more than half of Oregon, is desert, barren, high desert, cold as shit in the winter.
Someone told me and I was like, wow.
Yeah, so you have a ton of the state that's rural farmers, cowboys basically, people that live a hardy life. Yeah, because it's difficult to survive in those areas. You know what I mean? And so usually people that are more spread out from their neighbor and their life is a lot harder, have more, and I mean harder as in, hey, you got to go till your lands, like something that you might be familiar with or whatever. Yeah. Harder as in every day requires some amount of work in order to subsist.
Manual labor.
Yeah, manual labor. Yeah. Or even, plotting stuff, like, hey, we got a project, we got to build this thing or whatever, right? Because you have to think about the future. Like the winter's coming, right? That phrase, right? Yeah. Is because places like Eastern Oregon, it's a shit ton of snow and it's like 0 degrees outside. You know what I mean? Yeah. And there's not a ton of highway systems, not well connected and stuff like that. So like you can't just go to the store in the winter.
Yeah, that's very true for sure. Right. But talking about Portland, and I don't know, you are going to clarify me on this one. I don't know if you had like something to finish with.
Well, basically, I was just trying to set the stage for.
It's really hard to survive in a lot of places in Oregon. Yeah. And then you have this habitable area that's way more comfortable to survive in. Yeah. And that's where Portland sits. Okay. So the people's immediate challenges aren't as like stark as other people's, right? So like Portland has a lot of homeless people.
Yes, a lot of homeless people. And that's the thing, people don't actually, like, to be 100% sure, people are watching this video from Kenya, they don't know like there's homeless people in America. They don't know like we have people don't have anything.
That's because it's so easy to survive.
And we are going to talk about that. I hope I won't forget. But talking about Portland, there's something that someone told me, like Oregon is the only state where like strippers can be naked in clubs, like they can dance naked and all that, and the rules and the regulations and the laws allow that. And a lot of people come from other states, even the women, to do that in clubs. So maybe tell us.
Okay, that's crazy.
Give us the tea.
Disclaimer, I've never been to a strip club before, let alone one in Portland.
I've never.
Okay. Portland, look, so this is one of the good things, I will say. Mm-hmm. This is why, like, liberal ideology is attractive.
Yeah.
Because that literally means, like, freedom of, like...
Oh, I see.
With your body, with your choices, where you want to live, you know what I mean? Yeah. That's the concept of being liberal is being free.
Free, yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
The concept of being conservative is like, hey, taking the ideas that work and keeping them around, right? Yeah. You need them to oppose each other.
Yeah.
If you conserve everything, you never make progress in life. If you continue making progress without conserving anything, you like throw the baby out with the bathwater. Basically, it's just you might throw away things that got you to where you are in the first place, and you have to make sure that that those things are valuable and they're not to be just discarded just because you feel like you want to take your clothes off one day. You know,
I think here in the US it's I think everyone gets like a different experience on how you kind of.
It's again that we're so spread out. Like, think of all the 50 states as literally different countries.
Yeah,
that's how big each state is.
Yeah,
like there's so many countries. Like Oregon, for instance, is like probably bigger than half of the European countries.
Yes, yeah,
and that's just so one big state.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So. Yeah. When people are spread out and stuff, their kind of ideas change and the culture around it changes and all that stuff, right?
So before I came to America, I like if you go back in Kenya, which like I think we will go at some point, probably maybe before the end of this year or next year, because I want to take you home. And what's going to happen? You're going to
make
see
me put the coffee beans or
yes,
the tea leaves.
Get the coffee beans, get the tea leaves, milk the cows, milk the goats. So you wanna do all those kind of
stuff. As long as I get papayas and mangoes
and sometimes some cows are dangerous. They can throw a kick like on you, so you have to be careful not to come back breaking your hands.
Okay.
I think like we are coming to the end of our podcast, guys. Price has been really nice. You guys, I can't wait to see the comments, what you guys are going to say, all kind of things touching us. But you know, we are starting, so just being low and what do you think?
I mean, that was good. You know, we kind of touched on some topics and
everything actually. But do you know one topic that I left behind? We are going to talk about it next.
Travel?
Yes, no. Travel, we are going to talk about travel.
Okay.
But it's not the main one.
What?
Dating.
Man,
I'm
dating.
sure people will be interested to know how dating is.
Yeah, we got to get a tita a wife.
Got to give them those tips and tricks.
How you get a tita a wife? Leave comments below. We'll make a whole video on getting a tita a wife. We'll get his beard trimmed up nice. You know, he's been looking a little scruffy since he's been single.
So okay, we are going to see about that. So we are going to talk about dating for sure. It's a big topic, and again talk about the money, because I think like people should understand more about the finances in America.
What it's like to live in the United States right now.
We are going to talk about so much things. So guys, thank you so much for being part of this YouTube podcast. Price, we are going again, if you check most of the videos, I think after like 5-10 videos below, we did another podcast before. We are going to do another one. So those 3 things, and we'll come with other more topics to talk about, depending on how you guys are going to be nice on the comments. And do you have your last words?
Well, like and subscribe to Atita Fitness, you know.
Yeah.
He needs more fit fam, you know what I mean?
Sure. We need a big family.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
So. And ideas, you know, challenges, things like that. What do you want to see? Atita and I, you know, we rise to the occasion. You know, if the commenters have something, we try to make it happen.
Join you on the arm wrestling so that guys can get to understand about the arm wrestling.
It's gonna be fun.
No, I have a strong arm. I do a lot of calisthenics.
I know.
I think I got you.
You're not gonna beat me.
You guys bet on me. I think I got him.
Nah, $100 says a Tita loses to me.
$100, guys. I think I got him. My arm is very strong, so we are going to challenge that. But I think it's a professional arm wrestler, so I don't know. We'll see.
I wouldn't. It's not professional, but you know, we're gonna get there one day.
Okay. So thank you guys for watching this video. Please go ahead and subscribe, give the video a thumbs up, and join the Tita Fit Farm. I have the premium membership. If you guys want to support the channel, you can just go ahead and get a subscription to be a member, so that we can give you tips on, like, you know, we can have private more like discussions about fitness, nutrition,
Q&As.
Q&As. You can send me a direct message or email. I can give you more like contact information so that we can keep in touch if you're looking for to kind of gain muscle. I will explain more about my journey, what things I've seen like working, and the ones that you hear about people telling you, oh, you can put 10 pounds in 3 weeks, and it's unrealistic. So thank you for watching this video, and see you on the next one.
Bye.
Bye guys.